So how do I get clients as a full-time videographer? You're probably a videographer yourself or some sort of filmmaker or some sort of creative watching this video because you just cannot get clients for the life of you. I'm going to break down what I've historically done and what I'm doing now going forward. Cliff note, this is a very challenging time. I think that we're kind of in a little bit of a recession type deal. Things are kind of slow and wonky, more than they've been before. Maybe you went through the 2008 recession. It's probably kind of similar to that, just based on some people a little older than me that have gone through that. You used to be able to, as a filmmaker, videographer, whatever you want to call yourself, rely on two things. It was basically staffing websites, having connections with a network of agencies or production companies, right? Historically, what was working is, like I said, out of those two things, you'd go on, let's say whatever your city is. Let's say you live in LA. You'd search LA production company or LA rental house or LA video production, and you'd go down the list. Everybody that you'd find on Google or that you would find on any website, Instagram, like you'd just go down the list. You'd go boom, Instagram, websites, production hub. You'd just go way down the list, reach out to all those people, and it would honestly be as simple as, hey, this is my accolades, this is the cameras I have, these are the roles that I participate in a production. And that was kind of enough, honestly. And once you built those relationships with people, you'd get you'd get on their roster essentially. You'd be able to ride that wave. You'd be able to continuously get hired as an op or whatever it is that you do on set, producing, whatever that specific role might be. You'd get constantly hired. You'd be able to just do that, and that was your thing. The other option, if it's like, okay, Cam, well, I can't really go and you can still do this, by the way, and that's the first thing I recommend anybody do, is just whatever your niche is, go find every single person in that niche that you can find on Google, Instagram, even YouTube. Heck, even search your city videographer or your city photographer and go network with those people. Not gonna lie, you have to be a little bit sneakier than you were before. Like I said, before you used to be able to just send them gear list, accolades, and what you do. And since there was so much production work, sometimes people would get double booked or their other guy wouldn't be available. And so they had to literally have a roster of people that they could hit up if they needed to fill a production. Now you have to be a little bit sneakier when you're doing the networking thing because work is a little slimmer. Since a lot of video people, just creatives in general, probably already have their people, it's harder to break into that by just doing like a cold email like that. I find that now what works better with the networking aspect is to go to events and to also just befriend people in the community. You can't get away with it as much because there's not as much of a glut of work. The other thing that happens too, I feel, when there's not enough work going around, which there's not right now, people get a little bit protective of their circle and they get a little protective of their gigs and their people. They don't really want newcomers in that. It used to be like super friendly and like everybody was down to chat and all this stuff. Right now everybody's like a little bit more guarded. That's a trend I've noticed. Not that these things are impossible to do, and definitely like that's step number one, is you just want to put yourself out there and start networking. But you gotta know that the game is a little different now. Once you've exhausted that, so that would be the first thing I would try, obviously, because it's free. Talking to people is free. Making friends is free. Even if you don't get work out of it, maybe you'll actually get a friend in the industry. Maybe you'll one day need another op. Maybe you'll one day need somebody else to fulfill another role on one of your productions. Key is making as many friends as possible in the community. I think honestly what I'm doing right now is probably the most big brain play, which is essentially making these niche videos kind of target other video people and other creatives, because then they'll be seeing my content and then it's like I don't have to reach out to people as much. In fact, now that I've been doing these videos, I do get random DMs from people trying to like just talk to me. Speedrun friendship by just putting yourself out there. So that's another option too, is making content about whatever your niche is, just making content about that. Say you're wedding videographers, making content about your process and trying to network with other wedding videographers. Whatever the niche that you're in, number one, networking. Number two, content. Putting yourself out there in every method possible. Continuing with the vein of cold outreach, the next step you can try is just, once you've already exhausted reaching out to people that are in your space, you can actually try to reach out to clients that you'd like to shoot for and just do a cold approach, email them, go to events, all these different places where your potential client might be. Just start telling everybody and their mom that you do video. Honestly, the whole getting clients thing is kind of like casting a net out into the ether and hoping that you catch some fish. But you also might like reel the net in and there might be nothing. Okay, so that's Cold approaching is a lot like that. Like you're just hoping that something will occur. Next, we go to paid efforts, which are a little bit more tried and true, or a little bit more point blank. And you should just get, I spent this much and I got this out of it. I spent this much and I got this out of it. The cheaper thing that you could do is joining the staffing websites. So these are things like Staff Me Up, Production Hub, Mandy. There's things like Indeed, LinkedIn. A strategy is you can go and see who's hiring locally and looking for videographers and maybe reaching out to them outside of LinkedIn and Indeed. In my experience, these staffing websites used to be really good, actually. Some people have always had mixed opinions about the staffing websites. Oh, there's also Glimmer, which used to be named Story Hunter, but now it's called Glimmer. Anyways, there's a bunch of these platforms. Those are the ones that I primarily use: the Staff Me Up, Production Hub, and Glimmer, and Mandy. But Mandy is like a little, that's like not the best, but Staff Me Up and Production Hub, honestly, for me, were pretty good. People have always had mixed opinions about these staffing platforms and mixed experiences as well. For me, honestly, I got great jobs out of it. I've gotten some really cool opportunities that would have not presented themselves otherwise. I think that for me, they were great. I couldn't really complain about them in the past. I currently live in Orlando, Florida, and on Production Hub, you could list yourself as like a DP or a cam op or a video production company in your specific city. That used to be like pretty good, actually. Like it would help you rank on search results. Other people in production would go on Production Hub. It's funny because they're actually based out of Orlando, which I saw their building randomly. The Production Hub building is like next to this like market, like this Asian market situation. I just bumped into it and I was like having like a banh mi, and I'm like, what? That's the Production Hub building. It like was kind of weird, but anyways, that's a side note. It was worth it in the past to pay for the featured profile because you'd actually be found and you get endless credits when you pay for the featured profile. But the problem right now with all the platforms is just the volume. Like, not only are we kind of like in a constriction of video production and creative projects in general, the amount of productions currently happening that have the budget to crew up and to have like an actual production are very slim. So I think that that's the main problem with the platforms right now, is that there's just not enough. There's a glut of video people, there's a glut of competent video people, and not enough work. So all of the video people are essentially bidding for these projects for pennies on the dollar because they're hungry. I don't think that the platforms are worth it right now. I actually stopped paying for my featured profile. But from time to time, you'll have like the random odd job pop up, and it hasn't been as good as it was. I would say pre-2024, those platforms were pretty lucrative for me. But then after that, it's been super hit or miss. I think the last time I got a job out of one of those platforms was when I was living in Austin and I did South by Southwest. And the particular production that reached out to me from one of those platforms. This year, 2026, has been like just absolutely nothing on those platforms. And I've seen similar experiences from other people I know. Actually, that's a lie. I did have a gig last Friday that I got through Glimmer specifically, but it's super rare. It used to be, like, what I'm saying is it used to be fairly consistent that you would get gigs and little things out of these platforms. Then that brings us to number 3, the final option. Maybe it's not the final option, but it's like just the next thing that I know is paid advertisements. So this could be anywhere from sending postcards, which I've never tried, but I'd be interested to try. Like, if you could, let's say that you shoot corporate video and you're able to send postcards to a bunch of businesses, I think it would be plausible that they'd scan your QR code and then go on your website, and then you could retarget them with Meta or with Google Ads. Like, maybe there's a way, there's something there. I haven't explored it yet, but there is something there. So if you figure the postcard thing out, I think that could work. For me, the two I've mainly done are Meta and Google. Google I've had not a lot of luck with. I think the Google ads are really expensive. And so you're competing with a lot of the big players that are down to spend $5-10 grand a month advertising on Google. When you throw $1,000 at an ad, it's like just not that lucrative for like, you're just kind of burning your money. The other thing with Google as a platform is that since this is a visual field and it's being creative and creative endeavors are visual, you can't put any visuals, so it's hard to compete with all the other video production companies that are also paying for Google Ads. When you post a meta ad and it's on people's feeds on Instagram or Facebook, they're seeing a video that you made or a graphic that you made. And so I feel like it's easier to resonate there in a visual medium. A lot of video people that I talk to, they're really appalled at the idea that you have to spend at least $1,000 to $1,500 a month with paid ads or you're not seeing any results. And honestly, some people spend way above that. Like when you Google somebody like video production bulb and the first result, like they're not playing around. A lot of video people are scared to do that, and they're just scared. I mean, it's a lot of money to just potentially burn, because honestly, a lot of the times when you are trying advertisement, you are testing things. A good bit of that money is just burnt to the algorithm. Those are basically the major ways I know on how to get jobs as a videographer and as a filmmaker, as a creative person. I guess I didn't really touch on unions, but for me, the union is not worth it. To join the union, I'd have to join as a camera operator, which would cost me like 10 grand. And I can't really see them providing 10 grand worth of value for me. But I also don't live in a production heavy city. I don't live in a city where there's a ton of union work. That wouldn't really be that lucrative for me, but that is something that some people do. They go down, they move to New York, LA, and they join the union, and bada bing, bada boom. There you go. That's been kind of a little weird too, is going the union route. So I'm not sure. I'd love to hear how you guys are finding gigs and what you're doing and what networking approaches you're doing. And let me know, dude, somebody cook up those postcards, because I think that's an idea that could work really well.